Raila dedicated his life to the pursuit of justice, equity, and freedom. He endured detention and persecution so that this nation might know and enjoy democracy. He championed reforms that gave birth to the rights and freedoms we hold dear today. His voice spoke for the oppressed. His conviction inspired generations, and his vision shaped the course of our history. Raila Amolo Odinga is truly a once-in-a-generation leader, a man whose ideals transcended politics and whose legacy will shape the destiny of Kenya for generations to come. A giant who towered for decades over our democratic landscape. He was a colossus of Kenya's modern politics, an indomitable warrior in our struggle for freedom and prosperity, and a statesman of boundless selflessness. In his passing, we have lost a patriot of uncommon courage, a Pan-Africanist, a unifier who sought peace and unity above power and self-gain, an unceasing servant of the people who gave his all to the promise of a better Kenya. On behalf of a grateful nation, I extend my deepest condolences to Mama Ida, his children, Rosemary, Raila Jr., and Winnie, the entire Odinga family, led by my brother, Oburu Odinga. To the leadership and members of Orange Democratic Movement, and to all Kenyans who share in this immense and immeasurable loss. In honor of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga's extraordinary contribution to our nation, I have declared a 7-day period of national mourning, during which the national flag shall fly at half-mast across the Republic of Kenya and in all our missions abroad. As a mark of respect, I have postponed all my public engagements for the coming days, and I ask all other public servants and leaders to do the same so that we can join the nation in this period of mourning and deep reflection. Our former Prime Minister, Raila Amolo Odinga, shall be accorded a state funeral with all attendant honors. In consultation with the family, a committee to be co-chaired by the Deputy President, Professor Kithure Kindiki, and the Siaya Senator, Oburu Odinga, has been set up to coordinate the funeral arrangements. At the same time, the Government of India, at the request of the Government of Kenya, has offered to facilitate the repatriation of the remains of our former Prime Minister. Consequently, a delegation comprising government officials and family members, led by Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, is leaving immediately for India to facilitate proper organization in the repatriation of the remains of our brother, the Honorable Raila Odinga. Other members of the delegation are Cabinet Secretaries Kipchumba Murkomen, Hassan Joho, and other ministers, National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, Minority Leader Junet Mohammed, and other members of the Odinga family, Jaoko Oburu Odinga, Kevin Obio Oginga, and others.
And Ida.
And Mama Ida herself, the family has finally decided that she will join those who will be going to recover the remains of the Honorable Raila Odinga. Fellow patriots, we have lost a beacon of courage, a tower of principle, and a father of our democracy. Let us come together as he always urged us to do, not as rivals, but as brothers and sisters bound by a shared destiny. As we mourn, I call on all Kenyans to reflect on his towering legacy and the lessons impacted by Right Honorable Raila Odinga's life, work, ideas, and example. In a political career spanning decades, Raila Amolo Odinga offered a compelling model of principled politics. And at a critical moment in our nation's journey, he always put Kenya first before individual or personal interest. May his soul rest in eternal peace. May God comfort his family. May God bless Kenya. I thank you. So finally. Leave it there for now. Facilitate the next steps in honor of the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Thank you very much.
Na mtazamaji, bila shaka ni dakika moja ama sekunde kadhaa baada ya tangazo rasmi kutoka kwa rais na kiongozi wa taifa hili ambaye ni Rais William Ruto akitangaza mauko yake Raila Amolo Odinga, na vile vile kutangaza siku 7 za maombolezo ambayo yatafanyika kuanzia hivi leo. Bendera ya Kenya itapeperushwa nusu mlingoti. Na vile vile ametangaza yeye mwenyewe kwamba amekatiza shughuli zote za umma yeye kama rais, na kuwarai na kuwaomba viongozi wengine serikalini wakiwemo mawaziri pia kufanya vivyo hivyo. Lakini zaidi ni kwamba Rais William Ruto ametangaza kamati maalum ambayo itakuwa ni kamati mseto inayojumuisha viongozi serikalini pamoja na familia, na kamati hii itakuwa inaongozwa na Oburu Odinga ambaye ni nduguye Raila Odinga, mkubwa wake kwa miaka miwili. Alizaliwa huyu ana miaka 82 na huyu ana miaka 80. Atakuwa anaongoza pamoja na Naib Rais Profesa Kithure Kindiki. Lakini pia zaidi ameelezea namna mabaki ama mwili wake Raila Amolo Odinga utakuwa unafika hapa Kenya. Kumbuka amefariki kule India, na akatangaza kwamba kuna ujumbe maalum, kwa kimombo delegation, ambao utakuwa unafika kule kuweza kushirikiana na serikali ya India kuweza kuleta mwili ule, na utakuwa unaongozwa na waziri aliye na mamlaka makuu ama kiongozi wa mawaziri nchini Kenya Musalia Mudavadi, ambaye pia ni waziri wa masuala ya nje, pamoja na mawaziri wengine akiwemo Kipchumba Murkomen, Hassan Joho, na vile vile viongozi katika bunge Kimani Ichung'wah ambaye kiongozi wa wengi na wachache Junet Mohamed, pamoja na mama Aida Odinga. Ni tangazo ambalo limejiri dakika moja iliyopita katika ikulu, na pia kuna viongozi wengine walikuwa pale. Sijui umeonaje taswira?
It was a handshake that took Kenya by surprise. Straight out of the blue sky and seemingly away from the company of their respective close aides, President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga shook hands on the steps of Harambee House, the block housing the office of the president in downtown Nairobi. The handshake came against the backdrop of a mounting national crisis occasioned by the bitterly disputed 2017 presidential elections that included a rerun boycotted by Raila Odinga in October 2017. The handshake was a turning point for the heated political climate. It was a moment of statesmanship for both President Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, who had at the time styled himself as the people's president, complete with a contentious mock swearing-in ceremony at Uhuru Park. The handshake before a shocked crowd of media cameras suddenly ended a political crisis that was on the verge of dividing the country, even physically. To a stunned audience of their divided supporters, President Kenyatta and Raila Odinga explained the objectives of their handshake. Objectives included a 9-point joint agenda.
Kenya cannot succeed without all of us. It needs all of us. And this is, to me, the spirit of the handshake. It is not about two people. It is about bringing a country back on track. It is about bringing the people of a nation to feel once again that they are part and parcel of the whole. It is to remove the issue of people feeling marginalized, isolated, left out, and to encourage a feeling that existed in this country once upon a time when some of us were children, but we hear those stories.
Tulikuwa tuambia watu wetu tunaenda Canaan. Lakini tulipofika kwa mto Jordan tukapata mamba pale. Sasa tukasema tujenge madaraja ya kuvukisha watu tukuingia wapi? Na tulisema hii sasa Canaan tunaingia sio wananasa peke yake, na Jubilee na NASA pamoja.
Born Raila Amolo in Maseno in January 1945, Raila Odinga is a scion of one of Kenya's foremost freedom struggle heroes, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. The older Oginga was an independence firebrand that, together with Jomo Kenyatta and other leaders, fought the cause of ending colonial rule and negotiated the constitutional order of Kenya at the famous Lancaster conferences in London. And to a politically conscious father was Raila Odinga born. And as a child growing up, he watched his father rise up to become the country's first vice president when Kenya was declared a republic in 1963.
Harambee! Ama shamba yetu harambee!
Raila Odinga's own political consciousness set in the mid-1970s when it became apparent that the country was in a general relapse, complete with the rise of official political intolerance. Events that included political assassinations and intimidation, arrest and detention of government critics quietly stoked the reformist flames inside Raila Odinga, and by the end of the 1970s and the beginning of the 1980s, he joined the list of those targeted as critics of the repressive state. A coup attempt by elements of the Kenya Air Force on the 1st of August 1982 marked a turning point for Raila Odinga as he was detained and tortured, having been falsely accused of a role in the coup attempt. For 6 years, Raila Odinga was detained without trial and held in solitary confinement. He was released in February 1988 only to be rearrested in September the same year for allegedly engaging in political activities. Raila Odinga's second stint in detention lasted close to a year, ending on the 12th of June 1989. His subsequent freedom did not last long. For the third time, Raila Odinga was arrested again on the 5th of July 1990 for being part of a group of brave human rights and political reforms crusaders that had dared question the repressive political climate under the single-party rule. His third stint in detention lasted exactly 1 year and 10 days. Raila Odinga was released from his last stint in jail on the 21st of June 1991. In October 1991, fearing assassination and against a backdrop of violent state repression, Raila Odinga fled the country to begin life in exile. He sneaked into Uganda disguised as a priest and proceeded to exile in Norway. Life in exile was not to be too long. Back home, the struggle he had been part of was bearing fruit faster than some anticipated. In December 1991, the notorious Section 2A of the Constitution was repealed and Kenya reverted to the multi-party system it abandoned in the 1960s.
Pendekezo langu ni kwamba badala ya sisi, kwa sababu ninawahurumia mama, nawahurumia wazee, nawahurumia vijana wa university, wa secondary school, wa primary schools, wako na mimi, na sitaki hata moja awawe au aumie. Tufungue section hiyo, na nauliza nyinyi nyote kukaa na mimi, tuende barabara yetu tukiwa KANU pamoja. Lakini visiwe vyama vya ukabila. Kama naandikisha na kama ni ya ukabila, it will not be registered.
Odinga returned from exile in February 1992 to begin life in elective politics, winning and retaining the seat of Member of Parliament for Langata constituency for more than 2 decades. In 2002, that is 10 years after the resumption of multi-party politics, Raila Odinga cemented his place as a consequential political force when in a year of dizzying political events, he emerged the architect of the transition that saw the Party of Independence KANU roundly defeated in the country's first ever free and fair democratic elections. Having unsuccessfully run for president for the first time in 1997, Raila Odinga embarked on a series of breathtaking experiments that included joining KANU and seizing the strategic all-powerful position of Secretary General.
Napendekeza kwamba Mheshimiwa Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi achaguliwe kama mwenyekiti wa chama cha KANU.
But the dalliance with KANU came to a thrilling end when Raila Odinga disagreed with President Daniel Arap Moi's 2002 succession script. Moi had dramatically leapfrogged a youthful Uhuru Kenyatta over the large cast of seasoned hands that now included Raila Odinga. The fallout for Moi was particularly costly as Raila Odinga walked out with a huge chunk of KANU leadership that included then Vice President George Saitoti. Opposition unity was Raila Odinga's new mission, a mission he pursued with selfless zeal as illustrated by his consequential endorsement of Mwai Kibaki, the famous rallying call Kibaki Tosha. The formation of the National Rainbow Coalition (NARC) and the endorsement of Mwai Kibaki proved a political masterstroke. KANU and Moi were outfoxed, and Raila Odinga's energetic campaigns across the country constituted the final rites for a party whose assured defeat was just an election away. With Mwai Kibaki confined to a wheelchair by a nasty road accident, the entire campaign revolved around Raila Odinga, who directed the show with ruthless efficiency. Kibaki and NARC won resoundingly, and Raila Odinga sat in cabinet as Roads and Infrastructure Minister. Having been elected on the promise of reforms and a new constitution, NARC embarked on the process, albeit with increasing reluctance among conservatives in government that felt reforms were no longer necessary after the removal of Moi and KANU from power. But Raila Odinga pressed on. And the Bomas of Kenya process of reviewing the constitution finally began. With conservatives shifting the game to the content of the proposed constitution, Raila Odinga formally drew the line and successfully opposed what he termed a mutilated version of the constitution NARC had promised Kenyans. In 2005, Raila Odinga resoundingly won the no vote against the proposed constitution. Against the back of that victory, the Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, a party styled from the symbol of the no vote, was born, and retaining the voting patterns of the 2005 referendum, and with Raila Odinga's presidential candidate, ODM was a sure bet of its supporters in the 2007 election. With a crushing parliamentary majority achieved within hours of counting, the presidential coronation of Raila Odinga appeared only an absurd miracle away, and indeed absurdities followed in the disputed tallying. Missing election officials and a nightfall swearing-in ceremony staged against the rising smoke of unprecedented political violence in parts of the country. It was on the steps of Harambee House in 2008 that the first handshake was born. Raila Odinga, despite all the indications of an inevitable election victory, agreed to a power-sharing agreement in which Mwai Kibaki retains the presidency and he, Raila Odinga, takes up the newly created position of Prime Minister. The new Grand Coalition government, with the help of the international community, set out to implement the terms agreed to in the National Accord, and this included a new constitution promulgated in 2010.
The seal has been affixed and it is presented to His Excellency the President.
With the new constitution in place, Raila Odinga ended his long parliamentary stint in 2013 to concentrate on his quest for office of the president, with the polls projecting a statistical dead heat. The contest between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta ended in the Supreme Court, where judges upheld the disputed figures and Uhuru Kenyatta's victory. The Supreme Court battle between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta resumed in the aftermath of the disputed 2017 election results. Raila Odinga had gone to court claiming the election results neither added up nor reflected the decision of voters. This time, the Supreme Court agreed with Raila Odinga. Then, seemingly from nowhere, Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta shook hands on the steps of Harambee House. The handshake not only ended the crisis but also began a phase of an unprecedented political partnership, a rekindling of old family ties, a reawakening of the original bond of their fathers, and the collective seizing of the moment to, just like their fathers, reshape the destiny of Kenyan politics. From a political detainee to the statesman, many profess today, Raila Amolo Odinga has walked a long journey, all the while dutifully carrying what his biography aptly titled The Flame of Freedom, now fondly known as Baba.
Fellow citizens, it is with deep sorrow that I inform the nation of the passing on of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, our former Prime Minister, Kenya's foremost statesman, and one of Africa's greatest sons. Kenya, Africa and the world mourn the passing on of a giant of democracy, a fearless freedom fighter, and a tireless warrior of good governance. Raila Amolo Odinga's name will forever be etched in the story of our republic, a story of struggle, sacrifice, courage, rule of law, hope, and of our pursuit for excellence. For decades, Raila dedicated his life to the pursuit of justice, equity, and freedom. He endured detention, and persecution so that this nation might know and enjoy democracy. He championed reforms that gave birth to the rights and freedoms we hold dear today. His voice spoke for the oppressed. His conviction inspired generations, and his vision shaped the course of our history. Raila Amolo Odinga is truly a once-in-a-generation leader, a man whose ideals transcended politics and whose legacy will shape the destiny of Kenya for generations to come. A giant who towered for decades over our democratic landscape. He was a colossus of Kenya's modern politics, an indomitable warrior in our struggle for freedom and prosperity, and a statesman of boundless selflessness. In his passing, we have lost a patriot of uncommon courage, a Pan-Africanist, a unifier who sought peace and unity above power and self-gain, an unceasing servant of the people who gave his all to the promise of a better Kenya. On behalf of a grateful nation, I extend my deepest condolences to Mama Ida, his children, Rosemary, Raila Jr., and Winnie, the entire Odinga family, led by my brother, Oburu Odinga. To the leadership and members of Orange Democratic Movement, and to all Kenyans who share in this immense and immeasurable loss. In honor of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga's extraordinary contribution to our nation, I have declared a 7-day period of national mourning, during which the national flag shall fly at half-mast across the Republic of Kenya and in all our missions abroad. As a mark of respect, I have postponed all my public engagements for the coming days, and I ask all other public servants and leaders to do the same so that we can join the nation in this period of mourning and deep reflection. Our former Prime Minister, Raila Amolo Odinga, shall be accorded a state funeral with all attendant honors. In consultation with the family, a committee to be co-chaired by the Deputy President, Professor Keture Kindiki, and the CIS Senator Oburu Odinga has been set up to coordinate the funeral arrangements. At the same time, the Government of India, at the request of the Government of Kenya, has offered to facilitate the repatriation of the remains of our former Prime Minister. Consequently, a delegation comprising government officials and family members, led by Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, is leaving immediately for India to facilitate proper organization in the repatriation of the remains of our brother, the Honorable Raila Odinga. Other members of the delegation are Cabinet Secretaries Kipchumba Murkomen, Hassan Joho, and other ministers, National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, Minority Leader Junet Mohammed, and other members of the Odinga family, Jaoko Oburu Odinga, Kevin Obio Oginga, and others. And Mama Ida herself, the family has finally decided that she will join those who will be going to recover the remains of the Honorable Raila Odinga. Fellow patriots, we have lost a beacon of courage, a tower of principle, and a father of our democracy. Let us come together as he always urged us to do, not as rivals, but as brothers and sisters bound by a shared destiny. As we mourn I call on all Kenyans to reflect on his towering legacy and the lessons impacted by Right Honorable Raila Odinga's life, work, ideas, and example. In a political career spanning decades, Raila Amolo Odinga offered a compelling model of principled politics. And at a critical moment in our nation's journey, he always put Kenya first before individual or personal interest. May his soul rest in eternal peace. May God comfort his family. May God bless Kenya. I thank you. Leave it there for now.
Jaribu kupita njia hii na wakose kupitia njia kwa sababu katika county
mondo mama omoswa mondo weche mang'eny dhi chiw mbele ka to mama nikech ung'eyo buok ma embe en go dong ung'eni mama be nigi buok wadwa ni mana omosu kaito dhi adhi oyue kaito wadhi yudo weche te bang' mano wayie aya adwa nukwe kwe alo kwe bed piny kwe
tulieni kidogo. Tulieni kidogo. Hello? Hello? Listen. Oh, the other side. Hello? Hebu tutulie kidogo niseme kitu kidogo tu. Poleni sana. Wange.
Na mtazamaji, kama unavyoona kwenye runinga yako ni viongozi.
Today we will take you through the life of Raila Amolo Odinga, arguably Kenya's enigma of politics. Raila Odinga was born at Maseno Church Missionary Society Hospital in Kisumu District, Nyanza Province on 7th of January 1945 to the late Maria Juma Odinga and the late Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, the first Vice President of the Republic of Kenya. Raila went to Kisumu Union Primary School, Maranda Primary School and Maranda High School, where he stayed until 1962. He spent the next 2 years at Adara Institute, a part of the philological faculty at the University of Leipzig in East Germany. Raila Odinga received a scholarship that in 1965 sent him to the technical school in Magdeburg. In 1970, He graduated with a master's degree in mechanical engineering. He returned to Kenya in 1970. In 1971, he established the Standard Processing Equipment Construction and Direction Company that specialized in manufacturing liquid petroleum gas cylinders. In 1974, he was appointed Group Standards Manager of the Kenya Bureau of Standards. In 1978, he was promoted to its Deputy Director, a post he held until 1982 detention. Raila Odinga is married to Ida Odinga, with whom they have 4 children: the late Fidel Castro, Rosemary Odinga, Raila Jr., and Winnie Odinga. Raila Odinga married Ida Oyo on September 1st, 1973. Together they have 4 children. Until his untimely demise, Fidel was a businessman and a solid pillar in his father's political endeavors. He is survived by his widow Luam Bekele and their son Alei Raila Odinga. Rosemary Odinga is a passionate educationist serving as the director of the Raila Odinga Center. This institution is dedicated to improving education standards across the country, with its main program operating out of Kibera slums in Nairobi. Raila Odinga Jr., his father's namesake, is a businessman with varied interests from energy to entertainment. He is married to Yvonne Kibukosia. Winnie Odinga serves as the director of Green Outreach Foundation Africa, an initiative centered around renewable energy to meet the emerging demands of the modern-day world. She is also a professional photographer. In 1982, Raila Odinga was placed under house arrest for 7 months by the late Daniel Arap Moi. Raila was later charged with treason following his political agitation for wider democratic space and detained without trial for 6 years. His mother died in 1984, but it took the prison wardens 2 months to inform him of her passing away, an experience he openly confesses that one of the most traumatizing in his hitherto eventful life. Released on 6th February 1988, he was rearrested in September 1988 for his involvement with human rights and pro-democracy activists pressing for multi-party democracy in Kenya, which was then one-party state. Raila Odinga was released on 12th June 1989, only to be incarcerated again on 5th July 1990, together with Kenneth Matiba and former Nairobi Mayor Charles Rubia. Raila Odinga was released on 21st June 1991, and in October he fled the country for Norway with a hint that the Kenyan government would attempt to assassinate him. At the time of Raila's departure to Norway, the Forum for the Restoration of Democracy (FORD), a movement formed to agitate for the return of the multi-party democracy to Kenya, was newly formed. In February 1992, Raila returned to join FORD, then led by his father Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. He was elected the vice chairman of the General Purposes Committee of the party. In the months running up to the 1992 general election, FORD split into FORD Kenya, led by Raila's father Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, and FORD Asili, led by Kenneth Matiba. Raila won the Lang'ata constituency parliamentary seat, previously held by Philip Liki of Kanu. When Jaramogi Oginga Odinga died in January 1994 and Michael Amolo Kijana succeeded him as FORD Kenya chairman, Raila challenged him for the party leadership. The elections were marred by controversy, after which Raila resigned from FORD Kenya to join the National Development Party (NDP). In the 1997 general election, Raila finished third after President Moi, the incumbent, and the Democratic Party candidate Mwai Kibaki. He retained his position as the Lang'ata Member of Parliament. After the election, Raila supported the Moi government and led a merger between his party NDP and Moi's KANU party. He served in Moi's cabinet as the energy minister from June 2001 to 2002 during Moi's final term. In the subsequent KANU elections held later that year, he was elected the party's Secretary General, replacing the late J.J. Kamotho. In 2002, then the president, the late Daniel Arap Moi, pulled a surprise by endorsing Uhuru Kenyatta, son of the Kenya's first president, Jomo Kenyatta, to be his successor. Moi publicly asked Raila and others to support Uhuru as well. Raila and other KANU members, including his current deputy in the CORD coalition, Kalonzo Musyoka, the late George Saitoti, and the late Joseph Kamotho opposed this step, arguing that then 38-year-old Uhuru was politically inexperienced and lacked the leadership qualities needed to govern. The Rainbow Movement went on to join Liberal Democratic Party, which later teamed up with Mwai Kibaki's National Alliance Party of Kenya, a coalition of several other parties to form National Rainbow Coalition that eventually defeated Moi's protege, Uhuru Kenyatta. Raila Odinga became the second father of the multi-party democracy in Kenya after Kenneth Matiba. Then President Kibaki failed to honor a pre-election agreement regarding political equity among the stakeholders and knock on the pledge made to the Kenyan people to review the Kenyan constitution within 100 days of the election. Raila Odinga opposed this, and when the document was put to a referendum on 21st November 2005, the government lost by 57% to 43% margin. Following this, President Kibaki sacked the entire cabinet on November 23, 2005. When it was formed 2 weeks later, Raila and the entire LDP group were left out. This led to formation of the Orange Democratic Movement. In August 2007, the Orange Democratic Movement Kenya split into two, with Odinga becoming head of the Orange Democratic Movement (ODM), while the other faction, the ODM-K, was headed by Kalonzo Musyoka. On 1st September 2007, the ODM elected Odinga as its presidential candidate in the National Delegates Conference held at the Moi International Sports Center in Nairobi. Odinga received 2,656 votes. The only other candidates receiving significant numbers of votes were Musalia Mudavadi with 391 and William Ruto with 368. Earlier, Najib Balala had withdrawn his candidature and endorsed Raila Odinga. The defeated candidates expressed their support for Odinga afterward, and Mudavadi was named as his running mate. Raila Odinga launched his presidential campaign in Uhuru Park in Nairobi on 6 October 2007. Following the presidential election held on 27 December, the Electoral Commission declared Kibaki the winner on 30th December 2007, placing him ahead of Odinga by about 232,000 votes. Raila Odinga and his ODM leaders rallied against the decision, with James Orengo and Professor Nyang' Nyong'o calling for mass action. Later, violence broke out in the country after widespread incidents of police brutality. Following 2 months of unrest, a peace deal between Odinga and Kibaki, which was provided for sharing and creation of a post of the Prime Minister, was signed in February 2008. It was brokered by former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. Odinga was sworn in as the Prime Minister along the power-sharing cabinet on the 17th of April 2008. The post of Prime Minister was last held by Jomo Kenyatta between 1963 and 1964 following independence. Odinga is thus the second person in Kenya's history to hold the Prime Minister's position. In 2013 presidential election, Raila Odinga's party Orange Democratic Movement (ODM) joined Kalonzo Musyoka's Wiper Party and Moses Wetangula Ford Kenya in a coalition for the presidential race, with Raila Odinga as the presidential candidate and Kalonzo as his running mate. Raila ran for the president in the elections held on 4th March 2013 and garnered 5,340,546 votes, totaling to 43.7% out of the total 12,221,053 valid votes cast. Uhuru Kenyatta garnered 6,173,433 votes, totaling to 50.51%, as this was the above 50% plus one vote threshold. Uhuru won it on the first round without requiring a runoff between the top two candidates. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission therefore officially declared Uhuru Kenyatta the president-elect on Saturday 9th March at 2:44 p.m. Uhuru was set to take office as the Kenya's fourth president. However, Raila Odinga, in the press conference shortly after the results were announced, noted that the elections had been marred by massive failures of the BVR kits. He stated that the manual tallying was suspect, leaving him no choice but to contest the results in Kenya's highest court. The Supreme Court, mindful of bringing the challenge, Raila Odinga and his lawyers George Oraro, Mutula Kilonzo and James Orengo secretly instructed Raj Pal Sena, a management consultant from Barcelona to carry out forensic investigations on the technology used in the Kenyan general election 2013, during which the IEBC made claims on TV and media that there were technological challenges, that servers overloaded, and that database crashed. Rajpal Sena included in this work a forensic examination of the evidence of the IEBC and Uhuru Kenyatta in relation to technology deployed during the Kenyan presidential elections. Raila Odinga and his lawyers then took appropriate legal steps to verify the findings of Rajpal Sena by consulting authorities in the USA and the United Kingdom. The findings of the Rajpal Sena were then documented in his witness statement for Raila Odinga and became to be known Witness Statement R06. Kenya's Chief Justice Dr. William Mutunga announced on Monday, 11th March, that the Supreme Court was fully formed and ready to deliver its judgment within 14 days as stipulated by the Constitution of Kenya. During the petition hearing, Chief Justice William Mutunga made a finding rejecting second affidavit of Raila Odinga, which comprised 900 pages, on the basis that it amounted to a new evidence which is not permitted under the Constitution. Subsequently, the Supreme Court issued a ruling dismissing the petition on 30th March 2013. The Supreme Court, while declaring Uhuru the next president, also declared that the IEBC should not have included the invalid polled votes in the calculation of the final figures and percentages. Chief Justice William Mutunga also directed the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and the Director of Public Prosecution carry out criminal investigations on the IEBC in relation to BVR kits. Currently, Raila Odinga now serves the public of the Kenya as the leader of the official opposition keen to ensure the full and proper implementation of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Currently, Raila Odinga holds a special position as the Special Envoy to African Union. Raila's office is based in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. He, however, has another office in Nairobi, complete with staff and advisors to keep his Building Bridges initiative with Uhuru Kenyatta on track and also manage his local presence.
We get that. And now there is, I think Francis Atwoli, again, one person who worked with him very closely, says the passing of Raila Odinga at a time when Kenya was yearning for unity is a big blow to our country. Raila has always been the glue that held our country together during moments of political misunderstanding. He consistently rose above divisions to unite us as Kenyans. He's a man who Kenyans will remember for now and years to come. Indeed, many of our current leaders, including President William Ruto, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, and several members of cabinet are in many ways Raila's political students, shaped by his mentorship and influence. Then he said that having been very close to Raila Odinga and being the last person he served in his office before leaving for India for treatment, I will forever cherish his trust in me and his unwavering commitment to Kenyan workers. And then he says, Pole to my sister Ida Odinga and the entire family. So lots of condolences they are coming, Dan, as you mentioned, for a man that will have a very rich history as people remember the things that he did, the things that he said. There's one more here. So Isaac Kalua was the chairman of the Kenya Water Towers when Raila Odinga was prime minister, and that is the time when there was a big fight about the Mau. And so he says that Kenyans mourn a true patriot, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, who dedicated his life to justice, democracy, and the preservation of our nation's soul. He stood firm when it mattered the most, including when he championed the restoration of the Mau Forest, aggressive water tower, knowing it could cost him politically. That decision reflected uncommon courage and foresight. So this is something reflecting on Raila's legacy on environmental issues. Remember, this is something that he had said actually at the time, that he was ready to lose his political support, and many people would say he actually did, because of what he did in the Mau Forest, and to a large extent the 2013 election reflected that disenchantment that came with the evictions that happened as a way of preserving the Mau. So Isaac Kalua, they are talking about it with that perspective.
We also have James Olekiapi, Professor James Olekiapi. He was a presidential candidate in 2013, and he has said that the breaking news of the demise of the former Prime Minister, Honorable Raila Odinga, is profoundly shocking. Whatever we may say of the man, he contributed immensely to the life and democratization of Kenya and significantly influenced political, constitutional, and legal reforms in the country. A renowned Pan-Africanist. That's from Professor James Olekiapi. And just as an update, President William Ruto has convened an extraordinary meeting of the National Security Council at 10 a.m. That's when it was meant to be starting. And will later chair a special cabinet meeting at 2:30 p.m. So that is a message from the House on the Hill that President William Ruto has convened an extraordinary meeting of the National Security Council at 10 a.m. and will later chair a special cabinet meeting at 2 p.m. So we wait to see whether that is in between that, he's going to make the announcement formally to the public before he has the cabinet meeting, and we shall be monitoring that.
The National Assembly also adjourned.
Has also adjourned. Yeah, has adjourned.
Morning sittings.
Yes.
And Speaker Wetangula, who appeared shaken at the time, invoked his authority understanding order number 1 to hold House proceedings and directed members of Parliament to reconvene later in the day. So he said that they're going to reconvene at 2:30, where he will give what he's calling an important communication from the chair. So that also just underscoring really how significant this is, that actually Parliament has adjourned the sittings for the morning, I guess pending what will come from that meeting at State House.
Yes, and something that keeps coming up, if you look at the different people, actually let me first read Boniface Mwangi's message, and he's posted on his social media platforms. And Boniface Mwangi is currently a presidential aspirant, and he was working with Raila Odinga during the last election under the Azimio coalition. And he says, "My condolences to the Raila Odinga family. Mzee amepumzika. His watch is over. What gives me hope is that last year a generation that will liberate Kenya from the shackles of bad leadership and corruption was born. Viva the revolution, viva." And that is Boniface Mwangi, as he condoles with the family of Raila Odinga. And we now want
undergoing treatment at the Nairobi hospital after complaining of fatigue and body aches a few days ago. According to his brother Oburu Oginga, the former Prime Minister went to Nairobi hospital yesterday for checkup but was admitted overnight for further observation with a team of doctors currently attending to him. He also confirmed that Odinga is in stable condition. Murimi Mwangi was at the Nairobi hospital following up on this developing story and now joins us from our city center studio. Murimi, we were expecting a statement from the doctors. Has it come out?
Rest in peace to Raila Amolo Odinga. He did try to fight for the democracy of Kenyans.
pursuant to Article 223 of the Constitution for loans to KMTC students, and that such release be regulated through the third supplementary estimates 3
bunge kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki
assembly on the same. And so the member of Mbalambala is dwelling his a motion or his request on the allocation of help to support KMTC students on Article 223 of the Constitution. The Deputy Speaker of the House, Honorable Gladys Boss, is currently in the House this morning. Allow me to hand over for this live broadcast. Enjoy your viewing. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Dr. Moses Wetangula, will be presiding over the business of the National Assembly. You can see him on your screens ready, and the members are all upstanding, meaning the business of the National Assembly will be commencing now. Allow me to hand you over for this live broadcast. Enjoy your viewing.
Tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu ambaye kwa hekima na wema wako umetoa nyadhifa za viongozi na mabunge kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu, tukusihi utazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao wameridhika kutuita tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri yetu. Tunakuomba uteremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa, na utujalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako ziendelezwe, na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Sergeant, ring the quorum bell. Whips, get your members in.
The Speaker of the National Assembly, he is currently presiding over the business of the House this morning. And upon the commencement of business this morning, we have the quorum bell on ring mode as per the directives by the Speaker. And this directive is coming from the Standing Orders number 34, subsection 1, that guides the House upon the commencement of business on matters quorum. As at this juncture, the House is not properly quorated, and we have that directive by Speaker Moses Wetangula that the Sergeant at Arms ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes for members of the National Assembly within the presence of Parliament to make their way into the chambers this morning. To have the House curated to commence business. In regards to the standing orders of the National Assembly, we need at least 50 members of Parliament to be in the chambers this morning for the House to commence with the consideration of business before it. In today's order paper, the House will be considering the Prevention of Livestock and Produce Theft Bill 2023. And the Productive and the Prevention of Livestock and Produce Theft is an act of Parliament seeking to provide for a legal framework for the identification of livestock, the movement of livestock, and the prevention of livestock theft, and the regulation of trade of livestock, the return of illegally acquired livestock and firearms, and for the connected purposes. In a nutshell, this is a bill that is seeking to regulate the livestock industry.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Order, members. Take your seats, Osoro. Raphael, take your seat, Baba. Honorable members, welcome to this morning's sitting. I've just come from ascending to 8 bills passed by this House. Congratulations to all of you who participated. It is the highest number of bills ever ascended together, including private members' bills by Owen Bayer, Roita Obo, Waithaka, and others. That's very good. I'll invoke my authority understanding order number 1 and direct as follows: that the sitting of the House this morning is adjourned. We will have a sitting at 2:30 this afternoon, where the Speaker will give you some important communication. For now, the House stands adjourned and you will all be upstanding. Businesses lined up this morning, you bear with the leadership and yours truly. There'll be an opportunity to prosecute those businesses later.
Well, that marks the end of this morning's sitting that has had the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Dr. Moses Wetangula, suspending today's morning sitting at the National Assembly owing to some communications he says he'll be making to members of the National Assembly in the afternoon, when the House will be sitting during this afternoon to consider a number of business before it. And remember, during yesterday's sitting, the leader of the majority party was directed to have the Cabinet Secretary for Education appear before the House to answer to issues of delayed release of capitation funds. We'll be handing you over back to the Broadcasting House for our normal programming, and until 2:30 p.m. when the National Assembly will be resuming its afternoon sitting. Enjoy your viewing and have yourself a great day.
Ilikuwa tarehe 15, Kenya yote tulihuzunika, baba ametuacha. Watu wa Bondo, Kibra na Wameru tulihuzunika kusikia, baba ametuacha. Woi, woi, baba Raila Odinga, mbona umetuacha? Oi, oi, baba Raila Odinga, mbona umetuacha?
It was a sad morning for the Odingas, friends and the country at large after they woke up to the news that the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga is no more.
I think now we can confirm to you that Odinga is dead, and this press conference is called purposely to just give you a preliminary overview of what probably happened with regards to his last moments.
Na mtazamaji, tunasitisha matangazo haya kuwaletea tangazo la kuhuzunisha.
Na Raila Amolo Odinga ameaga dunia.
Na habari tunazozipokea kutoka India zinadhihirisha kwamba Raila Odinga alifariki mapema hii leo.
Na tangazo rasmi linasubiriwa kutoka kwa familia ya Odinga na serikali ya Rais William Ruto.
Na mtazamaji, tukirudia tena, tunasitisha matangazo haya ya moja kwa moja kuwaletea tangazo la kuhuzunisha,
ambapo Raila Amolo Odinga ameaga dunia.
Na mtazamaji, habari tunazozipokea kutoka India zinadhihirisha kwamba Raila Odinga alifariki mapema hii leo asubuhi.
Na tunapotoa tangazo hilo, tunasubiri tangazo rasmi ambalo litatolewa na familia ya Odinga na serikali ya Rais William Ruto.
Na mtazamaji, kwa yule ambaye anatazama kwa hivi sasa, ni kwamba tunasitisha matangazo yetu haya kuwaletea tangazo la kuhuzunisha kwa hivi sasa.
Na ambapo Raila Amolo Odinga ameaga dunia akiwa na umri wa miaka 80.
Na habari tunazozipokea kutoka India zinadhihirisha kwamba Raila Odinga aliweza kufariki mapema hii leo asubuhi.
Na muda wote kutoka sasa, familia pamoja na serikali ya Rais William Ruto itakuwa inatangazia taifa kuhusiana na kifo cha Raila Amolo Odinga.
Ama kwa hakika tutakuletea mengi zaidi kuhusiana na kifo chake, na pia vile ni wingu jeusi limeweza kugubika taifa na ulimwengu mzima kwa jumla.
Na bila shaka mengi zaidi tutakuwa tunakuletea baada ya muda usiokuwa mrefu. Tutakwenda kila pembe ya nchi yetu ya Kenya, ikiwezekana nje ya nchi, kuangazia kuhusiana na jinsi ambavyo wananchi watakuwa wanapokea taarifa hizi na kuomboleza kifo cha galacha wa siasa za demokrasia na pia vile aliyepigania mageuzi ya kikatiba hapa nchini Kenya.
Naam, ni makiwa kwa wote mtazamaji. Kama unatupata kwa hivi sasa, tunakatisha matangazo haya ya moja kwa moja kukuletea taarifa hizi za kuhuzunisha.
Na taarifa za kukuambia kwamba Raila Amolo Odinga ameaga dunia nchini India akiwa na umri wa miaka 80.
Habari tunazozipokea mtazamaji kutoka India zinadhihirisha kwamba Raila Odinga alifariki mapema hii leo.
Na tangazo rasmi litakuwa linatolewa muda wote kutoka sasa na familia ya Odinga na pia serikali ya Rais William Ruto.
My way, I won't be back for many a days. My head is down, my head is turning around. I had to let a little girl in Kingston town. If you die, there's nothing to fear. Why? Because you'll either go to heaven or to hell. If you go to heaven, there's nothing to worry about. You'll be okay. Even if you go to hell, there's nothing to worry about. You'll find so many of your friends. So spend a long time just greeting them. How are you? Before your time for the fire comes. So therefore, don't fear. You have nothing to fear as Kenyans. We will succeed in the long run.
Now I want to tell you, Ruto, Honorable Ruto, that Mr. Ruto, I want to tell you, Ruto, that we are aware as a family and as Joluo and as Kenyans that you have very, very bad plans. You want to finish the life of Raila. And Ruto, we are warning you. We are warning you in broad daylight that if you attempt, Ruto, if you attempt, Ruto again, if you attempt the life of Raila, we are telling you that first of all, Kenya will not be the same again. And Ruto, you should also know that that will be the beginning of the end of your role as a president of Kenya. And Ruto, we also want to tell you that Kenyans have given you the guns. Kenyans have given you the tear gas. Kenyans have given you the water cannon. Not to fight them, but to protect them. And Ruto, when you use them to kill Kenyans, innocent Kenyans who are demonstrating against your misrule. Because Ruto, you are overburdening Kenyans with taxes. And the cost of living has skyrocketed. Ruto, Kenyans are telling you that the burden is too heavy and you must reduce that burden on the Kenyan people. And Ruto, if you don't reduce that burden on the Kenyan people, they will continue demonstrating, and Ruto, they don't need your permission. They don't need permission from you. Ruto, the Constitution of Kenya allows Kenyans to demonstrate, to picket, and to do what is necessary within the law to protect and to draw your attention to their rights. And they will do it whether you like it or not. And Ruto, whether you like it or not, Kenyans will be on the street. You know, Bade Madwa Gisoruto, Ruto Nyakonge, Nijo Pinyo Kudwa Rusa Kuome, Mondo demonstrate. The Pinyo Kudwa Rusa Kumruto, because Katiba Markenyo Yenegi, Niki Nyaro demonstrate Kaka Gidwara. Teko Markamo Jini Ruto Wacho, Ogo Kore, Liana Tam Rani Okubi Woko, Tam Regi Teko Male. Teko Motam Rego Rono Yudo Kanye. Teko Motam Rego to Yudo Kanye.
Today we are here mourning. Our sons and daughters have been killed by the Ruto police, and yet Ruto is coming to our land to celebrate. That is tantamount. That is tantamount to dancing on the grave of our children. Na kwa hivyo leo hii Mheshimiwa Ruto na wenzake wanatuonyesha madharau, wanakuja kusherehekea hapa Homa Bay, ili hali sisi kwa jamii wa Jaluo tunalia tunahuzunika kwa sababu ya vifo vya vijana wetu. Na licha ya hayo, ile mkutano yao ya leo inabidi wasafirishe watu na mabasi ya shule. Leo hii nyinyi mmejitokeza nyinyi wenyewe bila kusafirishwa. I want to ask Ruto, ukisema ya kwamba usafirisha Raila na Uhuru, unamaanisha nini? Unamaanisha nini? Ukisema ya kwamba watasafirisha Raila na Ruto Uhuru, unamaanisha nini? Una mbinu gani? Una nia gani? Lazima niwakumbushe ya kwamba wewe hauna nguvu. You have got no power under the constitution to determine whether we have demonstrations or not. By Kenyans demonstrating, they are simply exercising their constitutional right. And this they will do next week on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday, and even beyond. Let me say this, that the current dispute in the country is not between Ruto and Raila. It is between Ruto and the people of Kenya who have felt cheated, who have been pushed to the wall. It is the people of Kenya who are now fighting back. The people of Kenya can no longer tolerate the excesses of the Ruto regime. Jadimo wacho ni Ruto dawe. And let me finish by saying this. First and foremost, if you attempt Banaruto and your special operation units that you are forming, if you attempt to touch even a strand of hair on Raila's head, this country will never be the same again. I want to warn you, the Kenya regime, that if anything happens to Raila Odinga, then what happened in Rwanda, what is happening in the Sudan, what happened in the Somalia, what happened in Uganda and elsewhere will be like a picnic. And finally, what the country and jukumu marwa moto wale uru kusema kabagi. Wale uru etien jaten wachie main Raila Amolo. Raila Amolo. I want to tell him this. The right honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is not a village elder, and neither is he a village chief. Raila Odinga is a global icon, and anything that happens to him does not only attract global condemnation, but that will mark the end of Ruto's rule, and he will have to leave State House. And going forward now, anything that will happen to Raila, up to and including but not limited to catching cold, attacked by flu, we will have to take the blame at the doorstep of William Samoei Ruto. Raila is not your enemy. Raila is not a baby. The whole world knows Raila very well as they struggle to remember your name. Secondly, our people are dying in sorrow. The ethnic cleansing that is going on there. There are people who are there at the echelons of power in 1992 when ethnic cleansing and ethnic clashes took place. They are now sitting at the top of authority and they are entertaining all this. Luos will not be used as guinea pigs for killings. And anyone who wants to kill Luos.
Raila Odinga died this morning in unclear circumstances.
This morning, he was found dead.
We Kenyans from all shades of life, we are with them and we send our condolences to the family of
Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga is dead. Raila Odinga, a man who has stood tall through dictatorship, political betrayal, and endless battles for democracy, is gone. At 80 years old, he breathed his last in a hospital room in India, where he had been receiving treatment. The man who had lived his entire life fighting for Kenya's freedom had finally taken his rest. But as Kenyans are mourning, questions are filling the air. What really happened? Was he he sick for that long? And what legacy does he leave behind? When reports of his illness first appeared, many dismissed them as propaganda. In Kenya, rumors about politicians' health are common, but this time the whispers grew louder. Social media claimed he was bedridden. Others said he had gone abroad for major surgery. His brother Oburu came out to calm the nation, insisting that Raila was only slightly indisposed.
Raila is up and about. He was a bit indisposed, but he has gone like everybody else. Of course, every human being gets sick at one time or another, but it was not any serious sickness. It was just a bit of illness which was treated quickly and went, and he's up and about. He's just recuperating. He's no longer getting any treatment. He's just recuperating, resting. Very soon, as I said, you are going to see him up and about in the streets of Nairobi or Kenya.
Baba, talking to you people. Are you guys okay? I have here a lady who has come from Germany who tells me that she is a TikTok champion and that I need to talk to the audience.
Yes. Deputy President Kindiki even called it against African tradition to wish someone ill. But beneath the public statements, his family knew the truth. Raila's body was tired. Years of stress, age, and sacrifice had taken their toll. And so, surrounded by prayers and love, he quietly rested. When the news of his death reached Kenya, the Odinga family was broken but calm. Ida Odinga stood firm, thanking Kenyans for their prayers and love. His children spoke of a man who gave his all for them and for his country. Raila leaves behind not just a family, but a movement, a legacy, and a dream that millions still believe in. Raila Odinga may be gone, but his spirit will never be forgotten. He taught Kenya that leadership is not about power, it's about service. He showed that you can lose elections but still win respect. He proved that democracy is not given, it is fought for. He once said, "The struggle continues." For weeks, rumors had filled social media. Some said Raila was in critical condition. Others claimed he had been flown out in secret. His family came out strongly to deny the rumors. His brother, Siaya Senator Oburu Odinga, told Kenyans that Raila was in good spirits resting in India after a brief illness. Even Deputy President Kithure Kindiki and close friends like SK Macharia confirmed that Raila had spoken to them alive, alert, and recovering. But behind those reassurances, there was growing worry. Those close to him knew he had been fighting a private battle with his health, a battle he wanted to face quietly away from the noise of politics. And then on a calm Wednesday morning, surrounded by family and doctors, Raila's long journey came to an end. Raila Odinga was more than a politician, he was a symbol. Born in January 1945 in Maseno, Siaya County, Raila was the son of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, Kenya's first vice president. From a young age, politics flowed through his blood, but it was not an easy road. He was detained, tortured, and silenced for years, yet he never gave up. When others chose silence, he spoke. When others bowed to fear, he stood firm. He was there during the fight for multi-party democracy in the 1980s and 1990s. He spent 8 years in detention, accused of plotting against the government of President Daniel Arap Moi. But when he came out, he didn't seek revenge. He sought reform. He called for fairness, justice, and democracy. And because of that, millions called him Baba, a father of the nation. Raila's name became a constant in Kenya's politics. He ran for president several times in 1997, in 2007, in 2013, in 2017, and in 2022. But victory always slipped away. Some say he was robbed, others say his time had not yet come, but no one could deny his influence. In 2007, when Kenya was thrown into chaos after disputed elections, the violence that followed nearly tore the country apart. support. Yet it was Raila and Mwai Kibaki who came together to form a coalition government where Raila served as a prime minister from 2008 to 2013. It was during that time that Kenya saw new reforms, a new constitution, improved infrastructure and political calm. He became the man who could unite a broken nation. Raila's life was not just about politics, it was about sacrifice. He missed family moments because of political detentions. He risked his life in rallies, faced tear gas and arrests, and endured betrayal from close allies. Yet he never gave up. His wife, Mama Ida Odinga, stood by him through it all. For more than 50 years, she was his strength, his peace, and his biggest supporter. Together, they raised a family that carried both the pain and pride of his political journey. Their children, Fidel, the late, Rosemary, Winnie, and Raila Jr., watched their father dedicate his life to the people of Kenya. Even when Fidel passed away in 2015, Raila showed resilience that inspired many. Away from the stage, Raila was a simple man. He loved football, especially Gor Mahia, his favorite club. He enjoyed traditional meals and quiet time with family. He loved music and often hummed old Luo songs. Those close to him described him as a humorous, disciplined, and deeply spiritual. Despite being one of the most powerful political figures in Africa, he lived humbly and connected easily with ordinary people. That is why in Kibera, Kisumu, and Nairobi, people called him Baba. And even in death, his words remain true. From Kibera to Kisumu, from Mombasa to Marsabit, his story will live on in the hearts of millions who saw in him not just a politician, but a fighter for freedom. Raila Amolo Odinga, the son of Jaramogi, the voice of the people and the father of Kenya's democracy. His body may rest, but his dream, his lifelong dream of a better Kenya will live forever. And so, Kenya says goodbye to one of its greatest sons, a man who gave his life to the nation, who carried hope when there was none, and who never stopped believing in Kenya. Rest in peace, Raila Amolo Odinga. Your struggle built a nation, your legacy will live forever.
Ametuacha tu kwa ng'ambo, tunampenda tena, na kifo ajui mpendwaye, ajui mpendwaye, yote aliyoyasema aliyatimiza, lakini kifo ni rafiki. Yuko wapi? Hakuna, hatumpati tena. Yuko wapi? Mbinguni, tutaonana tena. Yuko wapi? Hakuna, hatumpati tena. Yuko wapi? Mbinguni, tutaonana tena. Ulale salama. Ulale salama.
Right now, still on the heartbreaking news that the country received today of the passing of Raila Amolo Odinga, who has been the ODM party leader and the Luo kingpin, not just a man loved by Luos only, but a man adored by many Kenyans. And we received the news today that Raila Amolo Odinga passed away this morning while receiving treatment in an hospital in India. And the hospital said that Raila Amolo was taking a morning walk when he suffered a heart attack and was pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital. So Kenyans have been waiting to hear what President William Ruto says about Raila's death and also an official statement from the family. But right about now, I can confirm to you that we have got these exclusive photos of the meeting that President William Ruto had with the family of Raila at his home in Karen, just moments before Kenyans and also supporters and followers, people who adore Raila, went to his home, and they are just sitting outside there waiting for the official confirmation and the address from the president. Now, in these photos, as you can see, President William Ruto was accompanied by the Private Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, alongside also the governor for Homa Bay County, that is Gladys Wanga, and also Millicent Odhiambo was also part of that meeting. I also saw Junet Mohammed was also present, and as you can see from the pictures, their faces tells you the whole story of what their reaction is to receiving the news of the death of Raila Odinga, because President William Ruto was working very closely with Raila. They had formed the broad-based government, and it is something that many people had come out to attack Raila Odinga for doing so, because for so many years Raila has been the person who has led Kenyans in fighting against oppression, in fighting against the government. And the moment that it seems like Raila had also taken a handshake with the President William Ruto, having done so in the previous years with the late Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, also with the late Mwai Kibaki, and also the former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, Kenyans saw at some point this was maybe a betrayal from Mr. Raila Amolo Odinga. But despite whatever has happened, despite whatever Raila has done in the last years, you can tell for sure that his death has shaken the whole country. Everything is at a standstill right about now. I've shown you videos of Kisumu residents who have taken to the streets mourning the passing of their political enigma. Also, we have pictures from Kibera and Nairobi CBD right about now. Matatus are also at a standstill. Everyone is mourning the passing on of a legend, and that picture just shows you the president's reaction on his face is very sad, is in a somber mood, and you can tell that it was not a happy moment. And we are informed that President William Ruto arrived at the Raila's home after he got the news of his death in India, and he has been there since I guess around 9 a.m. in the morning, and we are waiting for whatever the family will come and report, give us official statement to the media, because whatever started as rumors last week has just now been confirmed, and all the biggest media outlets have retweeted about this story. They have done this story. It has been confirmed right now that indeed Raila Amolo Odinga has died today, aged 80 years of age. Yes, so the condolences are still pouring on social media. Political leaders have done so. I've also seen a tweet from Edwin Sifuna, who was also a close person to Raila Amolo Odinga, not just politically but also they were friends, and he tweeted a photo on X account with just a full stop. He could not have words to express what he was feeling at that moment. We have also seen the likes of Jalango, we have also seen the like of celebrities like Eric Omondi, who have also taken to social media to share whatever they feel about the passing passing on of Raila Amolo Odinga. Raila will be remembered for being a person who fought for this country, and that is why you see the reaction coming on from different parts of the country. That's why you can see many Kenyans are pouring onto the streets to just share their deepest condolences, to just share their heartbreak from what has happened today, because sometimes you'll see when political leaders, they pass on and people celebrate, people from their constituencies, they are celebrating, but this is not the case for Raila Odinga. People are very sad. Actually, Kenya is in a somber mood right about now. I've seen the pictures from Kamukunji, pictures from Kibra, pictures from Kisumu, pictures from all over the country, and people are in tears, people are mourning, people do not believe that this has happened. Businesses have come to a standstill in Kisumu, they have been closed down, and transport has also been affected along major parts of Nairobi as people take to the streets to mourn the passing on of a legend. We also expect that the Security Council of Kenya is about to have a meeting to plan on the course on what is happening next, because we believe that Raila's body, which is currently in India, has to be transported back to the country, and also funeral arrangements will begin as he will be laid to rest in Bondo, where he comes from. And you remember now, Raila Odinga is a political figure, so that has to be one of the biggest state funerals that we are ever gonna witness in this country. And we don't know what will happen, the steps forward. Will Kenyans be allowed to the funeral? I believe so, because but you also have to expect that the security right in that funeral will be one of the best we have ever seen in this country. So we're still waiting for President William Ruto's address on the former Prime Minister's death, and whatever he will say, we are waiting to see what the president will guide us as a nation going forward, because this is a moment that people are just now waiting for their one leader to come in front and tell us the way forward. Mama Ida Odinga, also from the pictures as you saw, she was very sad, and yeah, it is a sad moment for her. And we also believe, I got news that Raila, while in India, he would also travel with his daughter Rosemary Odinga. Yeah, and it is a very sad moment. It is a difficult moment for the family, difficult moment for people who loved Raila, difficult moment for also other political leaders who have been mentored, who have been coached, and who have looked up to Raila Odinga in their political journey. We'll be keeping you more updated on the latest and developing news as we follow this sad story and this dark cloud that is engulfed the Kenyan political the political everything. Yes, so thank you so much guys for watching this news. I hope that you subscribe to my channel, turn on your notification to get the latest update on whatever is happening when President William Ruto makes his statement, and also the family. We had got information that Raila Odinga's elder brother had called for a press conference at 10 a.m. but it's now almost 2 hours past that, and we are still yet to get the press conference. So we believe they are getting ready, they are preparing to come and speak with Kenyans who are eagerly waiting, because I've already informed you that right about now at the current home where Raila Odinga's residence is, Kenyans have flocked that place and they are waiting. They are mourning in noise. They are, it's a very sad day. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and stay updated. Bye bye.
The news coming into our newsroom is that the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has died. Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has died. Janet.
The former Prime Minister, who's been undergoing treatment in India, passed away this morning in the Indian city of Kochi. He was 80 years old. Multiple sources in the former Prime Minister's office and those in his party ODM, as well as sources in government, have all confirmed Raila Odinga's death. Earlier, a number of Indian news outlets had reported that the ODM leader had collapsed while taking a morning walk before being pronounced dead in hospital a few moments later. 2 days ago, Raila's elder brother, Dr. Oburu Odinga, had confirmed that the opposition leader was undergoing treatment in India after speculation swirled swirled around his health and his whereabouts. The president is expected to make the formal announcement later this morning after a security briefing. That is the breaking news update that we have for you this morning. The former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, is dead. Let's just
take it again.
Yeah.
It is incredibly shocking news for the nation. But yes, we have seen your comments, and it's important that we're able to verify information and before sharing it. But the former Prime Minister who has been undergoing treatment in India passed away this morning in the Indian city of Kochi. Now, he was 80 at the time of his passing, and multiple sources in the former Prime Minister's office and those in his party ODM, as well as sources in government, have all confirmed Odinga's death. Earlier, a number of Indian news outlets had reported that the ODM leader had collapsed while taking a morning walk before being pronounced dead in hospital a few moments later. 2 days ago, Raila's elder brother, Dr. Oburu Odinga, confirmed that the opposition leader was undergoing treatment in India after speculation swelled around his health and his whereabouts. Now, the president is expected to make a formal announcement later this morning after a security briefing. Incredibly shocking news, and we will continue to eulogize Raila Odinga as, of course, a statesman, a leader, of course, a father, a Baba to many, known to many as Baba. It's been, of course, the speculation has been rife, but it is important that we're able to do this properly, and we do wait for the president's official announcement as well, so that he can confirm and speak to the nation regarding Raila Odinga's passing.
Yeah, to make that formal address. Condolences. A lot of people obviously will be processing this grief and shock. As Mariam said, we continue to wait for a formal announcement by the president, William Ruto, to just officially give that news to the country, to the world, so that we're able to get it directly from him. But that, so far, we can now confirm that the former Prime Minister is dead at 80 years old.
Yeah.